Hi guys, welcome back to Chess to Matthew. So on this video, we will tackle about an opening, which is the so-called the Saragossa opening. The Saragossa opening start with a move c3. So on this video, I will show you how to win on this opening in just 17 moves. So let's go now. My opponent here plays the move e5, trying to control the center and also opening some diagonal for his queen and also for his bishop. So here after e5, I challenge now the center with the move d4, trying to capture this undefended pawn on e4. So here my opponent decided to capture the d4 pawn with his e5 via e takes d4. So here after e takes d4, I decided to gambit some pawn in return for a developing piece. So here I play the move e4, and here my opponent accept the gambit after d takes c3, and here I play the move bishop to c4. We shall see on this position that we are now a pawn down, but in return we have a developing piece on the c4. So here again my opponent accept another gambit pawn on b2 via c takes b2, but after bishop takes b2, we shall see on this position that even though we are now at 2 pawns down, but we have 2 bishop on a developing square. So here my opponent plays the move bishop to b4, giving a check with a tempo with his bishop, and also leaving the square for his king, so that later on after, for example, this knight will be moved on that square, then he can castle on the king side. But after bishop to b4, I simply play the move knight to d2, covering the check from the bishop. And here my opponent again go for his idea, which is to vacate as soon as possible his king side so that he can put now his king into safety, and place the move knight to f6. So here we shall see on this position that this knight was threatening to capture the e4 pawn, because this knight is no longer a defender because it was pinned by the bishop on b4. But here I simply play the move knight to f3, vacating the square so that we can now put our king into safety. And here my opponent plays the move knight takes e4, and I castle now on the king side. So here after the castling, my opponent now capture the knight on d2, and then it allows us to play the move rook e1, giving a check on the king. So again my opponent here decided to retreat his bishop to e7 so that later on he can now castle on the king side after the capture on the d2 square with queen takes d2. So we shall see on this position that after queen takes d2, my opponent now decided to castle on the king side. But after the castling, it allows me to play the move rook takes e7. So from the fact that the value of rook is equal to 5 pawns and the bishop is equal to 3 pawns, so after rook takes e7 and queen takes e7, we loses another 2 pawns on the spot from the exchanges that we have on the e7 square. So as of now, we loses 4 pawns on this position. So here after queen takes 7, still I play the move rook to e1, because after rook to e1, my opponent here was forced to play the move queen to d8 to put his queen on the safe square. But we shall see on this position that even though we are 4 pawns down, but his pieces was still sleeping on the queen side. So when this scenario will happen on our game, then we have an initiative, and that initiative start if we attack. So now I play the move knight to g5, trying to attack now the king side with the knight and with his bishop. So after knight to g5, my opponent here tries to cope up with development and play the move knight to c6, but still it allows us to play the move knight takes f7, trying to regain some pawns on this position. So we shall see on this position that we are only now 3 pawns deficit. But after knight takes f7 and rook takes f7, still we have the move queen to d5, in which the idea is to attack the rook with 2 attackers and only 1 defender. So here my opponent was forced again to defend his rook with queen to f8, trying to put with 2 defense versus 2 attackers on the f7 square. But still we can simply capture the rook, and after queen takes f7, and here we can win in just 17 moves with the move rook to a8, because after rook to a8 it is now check, and this rook cannot be captured because it was pinned by the bishop and will also give another check. So he cannot escape the check, he cannot cover, and he cannot capture the checking pieces. So it's already now a checkmate. So just a recap, I win in just 17 moves with the Saragossa opening. After c3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and please don't forget to subscribe.